I think the banking system in 5 or 8 years is going to be profoundly changed. The idea that you need to put your money with a bank that then takes some high fees and commissions in order to let you have your money back and in order to make loans on the other side of its balance sheet, that I think will quickly become a strange and somewhat antiquated ideas. I think there's going to be more person-to-person transactions. I think the way that we make payments is going to be really quite different in the economy going forward. There will be banks, but the role of banks will change quite dramatically. And I think the banks that will do better will be ones that are simpler, the ones that are smaller, ones that people trust in the community, and ones that are willing to show what kind of impact they have with your money. Well, much more transparency, much more accountability, much more visibility, so you can see what not just banks but other companies are doing. This is what we're going to get with the decentralized set of technologies that are loosely referred to as blockchain. You're going to have a lot more visibility of who did what and when, and intermediaries like banks are going to have to choose how much they show to different stakeholders. I think many of them are going to be forced to show a lot. Perhaps you can hide the identity of the individual client, so there's some protection of privacy. That's also an important issue. But showing the kinds of activities you do, and not just showing or not just claiming it, but showing in a way that can be verified independently, that's where this sector is heading. Well, change in the financial system obviously has to get past the obstacle created by a very powerful elite, the largest banks in the United States and Europe and other places. And here the good news is that the technology is being developed by different kinds of firms, by firms from other sectors, by new firms, startups. And the technology can be used not just in finance, but also across many other applications where there could be some advantage to a decentralized or more distributed system. So this is a wave of technological development that some people see as similar to what happened with the early internet. Now, it's true that the internet has become more concentrated. A lot of advertising runs through relatively few firms, but we've also completely changed the nature of and the structure of information and how information flows within our societies and across our societies, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen to finance. So some powerful people may end up in charge, don't get me wrong, but it'll be a different set of powerful people. Well, the big dominant players are a problem, no question, and they could also take control of the new technology and use it in ways that just make themselves bigger, absolutely. But I actually think this technology has a better dynamic to it. Regulation matters, don't get me wrong, but I see the potential here for more decentralized solutions. I see absolute potential for bypassing intermediaries, for making financial transactions more efficient, reducing the cost, but also making them more transparent and allowing people to demand more accountability. So that's a very powerful dynamic, and we'll see if I'm right, but that will fundamentally change finance more, I think, from the technology side than from the regulatory side. Well, I think with regard to technological development, the government has to create a permissive environment. They have to allow innovation. They must, of course, be comfortable that it's sensible, responsible innovation, and that's a very important role, for example, for MIT. But we're very engaged through the Digital Currency Initiative of MIT's Media Lab in understanding technology, discussing with officials, talking to central banks about what would be sensible and not sensible, and trying to take a completely neutral social point of view. So I think if governments can provide that kind of environment, that would be very helpful. And if governments can become good customers for this new technology, because governments have many problems that would be better solved in a more distributed or decentralized way. So countries that embrace this kind of approach earlier, I think, will improve the quality of government services and create a new dimension to their technology sector and a broader set of innovations in their society dealing with their problems. So again, distributed solutions for a distributed world, that seems like an appealing approach. Well, if you're talking about the American political system. Of course, it's driven a lot by money. And that's part of the power of the big banks, is they have a lot of funds to contribute to politicians at various levels. The interesting thing about the technology development is it creates new fortunes, and those new fortunes are not necessarily in favor of continuing with the same existing structures. In fact, many of the people developing distributed technology will do much better if that technology displaces existing forms of intermediation, for example, in the form of the very large banks. So I think we have some tendency to inertia in American politics, but we also have a tendency for new people and new fortunes to rise up and to challenge the existing elite. And how that plays out, of course, remains to be seen. If you step outside the United States, obviously the politics are different everywhere, but the same appeal of technology. Who would refuse to adopt mobile phones, for example? That would be crazy. Who would refuse to adopt a more distributed approach to finance? Also, that will seem soon to be crazy. So standing in the way of innovation is never a good political strategy, and this is a big advantage at this moment in this sector that will help bring some sensible change.